Yeah. So as the title of the lecture that I have in the description of the lecture, I have already mentioned that today we are going to discuss about the definition of a vector. So before that, let me just go back to some loose ends that I did not discuss completely in the last lecture. So one of the most important point here, and this is going to be very important in order to understand the motivation of doing the mathematics that we are going to do. So I would like you to focus in this part of the statement that I made in the last class. So here I made this statement that there are two independent polarization direction, Ex and Ey. I guess it is not very difficult for you to understand the statement why I said independent polarization, but let me just repeat once more. Think about this situation. Why I'm saying this, these are independent polarization direction. Uh, let's just so this is not a unique statement. What I mean by that this is not a unique statement. So let me redraw the figure once more. It's not the best possible figure I can draw here, but still I guess we can understand. So I have, this was the screen, and then we have put this analyzer in between. Okay, now think about the situation that each and every photon that comes in from left hand side, if each photon is prepared in a state where the polarization axis is or polarization is in the x direction, what will happen? So that is the state that I am going to write in this, let's say this notation. Okay, it only tells you this notation means, right now don't worry too much about the notation. What I'm just doing is that I'm just trying to represent the state of that photon. What I mean by this notation here is that all the photon that are they are coming here from the left hand side of the screen, all are polarized in the x direction. Now if all are polarized in the x direction, what do you expect to see on the screen if I throw 100 particles? Can anybody tell me?
All 100 will pass. All 100
Yes,
will pass.
yes, all 100 will pass. So that means if if you can, if you see that each and every photon somebody has prepared a state of the photon, your friend has prepared, and that friend of yours did not tell you like what is the state of the photon is. What you have in your hand is an analyzer, and what you do, okay, you want to understand what exactly the state in which your friend has prepared the photon. What you will do is that, okay, may choose that you'll put the analyzer in this direction, and if you find the only information your friend is going to tell you that I am going to throw 100 of my photons, all are identically prepared. Okay, now you do the measurement and let me know in which state I have prepared my photon in. If your friend told you that there are 100 photons that has been prepared, okay, and you received exactly 100 photons, your conclusion will be that the photons are in state this one, that is polarized in the x direction. If you receive none, 0 photons, then what is your conclusion? That all the photons are in the prepared in the
Y
Y direction.
y direction. Exactly, exactly. So in this case, you have a, with full certainty you can tell, you measure, if you tell like which photon, which state the photons are being prepared. So absolutely definitive result for this. Okay, so that's why I made this comment that they are kind of they are independent of each other, because now the other example, the most general example, where your friends say that I have prepared my photon, okay, did not tell anything. If this angle in actually, if this your friend has prepared this with an angle of 45 angular polarization of 45 degree, then you will do the experiment. In that case, what your conclusion will be, you will be receiving 50 there out of 100, you will receive 50, and your conclusion will immediately be that okay, actually the polarization angle was 45 degree, and that means that the general state, so instead of writing this, general state is nothing but in terms of the component cosine of theta. Everybody understand this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that means the general state can always be written in terms of these two independent state, for which the results are absolutely definitive. Okay. Now the question is that I said that these two states are independent. That is true. There is no doubt about it. But that is something you need to remember. But with respect to the measurement that you are doing, here what is the measurement process? Putting the analyzer along the x-axis. Okay, so that is the measurement process. So psi x and psi y, these two states are independent with respect to your measurement process here, that is the orientation of the analyzer. Why I am saying this? I think it is not very difficult for you to see why I am saying this. Let us go back to the same setup once again. This was your original x and y direction. Photons are coming in from this left hand side, and now what you do is that, because you really don't know in which angle you should put it, your analyzer should be put in. So you may decide that okay, let me just put my analyzer not either along x or not along y. So you may decide to put your analyzer, I'll choose a different color to point it out. You may choose your analyzer to be put with respect to this x-axis by an angle theta, or rather let's say 45 degree, or more specifically it could be any general. Now what will happen if you put a screen? If you put a screen and all the photons are prepared in this state psi of x, will all of them go through?
No, sir.
No. Once again, yeah, in this case, the photons are not, even if you prepare your initial states to be in the x, your friend thinks that, okay, this is my x, this is y, and I have prepared the photon where all the photon are polarized in the x direction. Okay, and then you decide that, okay, I'll put my analyzer not in the x direction or y direction, but an angle theta. Automatically the numbers are not going to be changed here. Okay, whatever you are going to receive. So since this is 45, okay, you are, if 100 particles of this photon, this type of photon is thrown, then there will be 50 that you will be received. Okay, so now what has happened? However, if your friend has prepared the polarization or photons with a polarization angle of 45, what will happen? Now all of them are going to pass through. Okay, so so now this set of photons which are actually polarized in 45-degree angle, all of them pass. However, there is a completely, if all of them are there, they pass, there is also another possibility in this. I hope you can understand another possibility. Okay, if these photons are prepared in this state, so this is 90 degree, then none will pass this. So effectively, let me just then write these two new state as psi x prime and this new state as psi y prime. So the independent set of states are not always unique. Okay, actually it's better to say that are not unique. Why? Because now psi x prime and psi y prime, depending on your orientation of the analyzer, the set psi x prime and the psi y prime, these two states are the independent set of state, and any general state psi p now once again can be written in terms of this new set of state. You will understand why I am actually discussing this in a short while. Okay, I'll stop here. Do you have any question?
So are they related by rotational transformation?
Yes, exactly. That's where I'm getting at. Yes. So you can immediately see it's not very difficult that the older state, new state psi x prime and psi y prime are related by a rotation matrix with respect to the older state psi x and psi y. At this moment it may seems to be like why I'm discussing all this. There is a reason. Effectively, this is another important statement I made today. I hope you remember this. This is the statement: the independent set of states are not unique. Extremely important statement that I made. Okay, so depending on what your measurement process here, the independent set of states actually changed, but it does not mean that you cannot describe the state of your photon. You can always do this statement and do this mathematics and write down this equation. The only thing that changed is this independent set of states that you are using to describe the most general state psi of p. Okay. So now let us come back to our main point of the discussion that we say that we'll discuss about the definition of what is a vector. So we will actually take the route the way mathematicians think. So in our case now, we are not going to look into a vector as a quantity which just have some direction and magnitude. We are going to get rid of that limited definition of a vector, and we would like to generalize the generalize that definition of a vector. But before that, as I already said, that if you understand the two-state problem well, then the most general problem of quantum mechanics of many states will be much more easier for you to grasp. So let us come back to a very simple problem which I guess you have done many times, and it's not very difficult. Just think about this coordinate geometry, two-dimensional, x and y. Generally we think of coordinate geometry in this form of like two independent axes where x and y is we have managed to draw, and then let's say there is, you say that there is some vector which maybe you would like to designate it as r1. So with respect to this r1 is represented as, I am using this notation. I hope you are comfortable with this. Okay, r1, the notation x and y means that the x coordinate is here and then this is the y coordinate. Okay, similarly there could be some other vector that is r2. So this is, I'm still using, so this is x1 y1, this is x2 y2. I'm still using this using our usual knowledge of what is a vector. Okay, now what this x1 y1 and x2 y2 means, it means effectively that these are the coordinates or the component of the vector, or in another manner we can say these are the projection on these two independent axes x and y. Now what you do is that you may say that no, I don't want to use that x and y, I want to use something else as my coordinate system, which is like x prime and y prime. Don't do any changes to your r1 and r2 here. What you did is just simply change the coordinate axis, and what you have changed in this process, the independent set of direction x prime and y prime. What is going to happen? The things that are going to happen is that these coordinates are now going to change. Okay, so it can be now represented as r1 prime. Similarly, this will change to r2 prime, which is x2 prime y2 prime. You can immediately see the similarity between what we did earlier. Okay, so In a simple matrix notation, we can actually write, I think it is not very difficult for you to see that, as already pointed out by somebody, that the older coordinates and the new coordinates are connected by a rotation matrix, and this rotation matrix is, I think if you do the calculation, please do this, because this matrix is going to appear again and again and again. Okay, so this will be the case, and similarly for the other vector as well. So this kind of, this rotation, this property we are going to use as to define what we call is a vector or not a vector. Okay, so it's not that our typical definition that we have used, that okay, something which has a direction and has a amplitude, that we'll call a vector. No, we are going to just general, this is the one step of generalization that I have made. We are going to look into whatever object that you have in your hand, we'll look into their transformation properties. How do they transform? Okay, under coordinate transformation. So in this case, you can see this is what the transformation will be given to you. You can see the same thing is going to happen here as well. So when you try to represent psi x prime and psi y prime in terms of your previous set of independent vectors psi x and psi y, what you are going to get is a 2 cross 2 matrix here, and which will have the same structure like this. Please take this as a homework. Show this, and also show from this picture, if you change the independent set of polarization direction, okay, and that change in the direction is theta, let's say there is an angle theta with respect to the previous independent set of direction, then they will be related with the previously independent set of vectors by the same set, same coordinate transformation matrix, or it is the rotation matrix here. Okay, so these set of objects, so this is the first connection that I am going to make, and I am going to make a general statement. This set of this psi x and psi y, these are actually quantum state. Okay, they represent the quantum state of the problem, okay, of the photon, but their transformation properties actually follow the same transformation properties of the usual vector that you know of. And from that perspective, so that general definition, this set, this psi x and psi y, we are actually going to call them vectors, a component of a vectors. Okay, we'll discuss a little bit more one by one. So let me then give a much more technical definition. At least we first let us see, okay, the properties with respect to the previous coordinate geometry problem. Properties followed by vectors. In this case, vector means this R. So what is the first property that you can see, identify, that is followed by this vector R's? It is not very difficult, that you just check that you randomly pick up two vectors in the sense of your usual in this plane of this two-dimensional plane of coordinate geometry. Randomly choose any two vectors, it is going to give you a third vector. Okay, so the first property is this: the addition is commutative. What does it mean by commutative? That means whatever the order you do the addition, you end up getting the same result. Then addition is associative. Associative means, once again, in which order you are grouping the vectors and then summing it doesn't matter. The third, and this is a very important statement, that there exists a zero, which we call null also, null vector such that for let me note this sign, for every r. Any question?
Sir, this is called identity element.
No, this is yes, this is the identity element in terms of addition. Yeah. Then D.
So one question, just one
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
The components of vector can be any object. Not necessarily they can be real, they can be complex, they can be matrices as well.
Yes, yes. So for the timing, I'm just focusing on the very simple case of two-dimensional this real coordinate system. Okay, so I'm going to generalize it to much more general stuff. This is for the timing. I'm just building up to give you or help you to understand like what are the properties that you should keep in mind. Okay, after that definitely there is more generalization. When we really talk about the vector space, we are going to generalize it even further. So for every r there exists an inverse vector. That is minus r, such that r minus r gives you the identity or the null vector in this case. Okay, so these are the properties that you can easily comprehend. Okay, then what are the next thing? So this was addition property of your simple arrows in two-dimensional space. Second is scalar multiplication. So scalar multiplication, okay. So how do we define the product of any scalar with any vector. So if C is some scalar, I am not saying anything right now about C. It could be real, it could be complex, okay, in general, but let us just stick to real quantity for the time being, okay. So what are the important properties of this scalar multiplication? It is distributive. Distributive means you multiply C with this vector R1 plus R2, you get CR1 and CR2. Okay. Second property is the multiplication is associative. Associative means you have C1 and C2 multiplying some vector R in this order. This effectively is same as this. Then the third, if you multiply the vector with 0, you get 0, and 1 you get R, and then minus R is actually means minus 1 times R. So these are some details we need to keep in mind, okay, even though it looks like, okay, these are so obvious. Sir? Yeah.
That would be 0 vector or 0?
Yeah, it will be 0 vector. Okay. Now the third thing that we should keep in mind. So this is simple coordinate geometry. Okay. So there exists a scalar product. So scalar product, so for vectors in the coordinate space in 3 dimension, okay, so there exists a scalar product. So what the scalar product is defined as, I guess you know, the scalar product is defined as nothing but the dot product. Or rather the dot product is the scalar product. Okay, now can you tell me why it is called scalar? Anybody?
Because the end result is a scalar quantity.
Yeah, I mean, but that is a like it's the repeating the same thing. But why do we call scalar? Something more fundamental is here, I mean, with this quantity.
So because this object doesn't transform like a vector.
Yes. So effectively, what it means? Why is it called a scalar? That means if you do a coordinate transformation, okay, then R1 will become, let's say, R1 prime. Similarly, R2 will become R2 prime under a coordinate transformation. And if you take the dot product between R1 prime and R2 prime, then it will be same as R1, R2. So that means under the transformation that you are doing under the coordinate transformation, the quantity R1 dot R2 does not change. And that is why we call it a scalar, something that does not change under transformation. In this case, in our two-dimensional case of real space, is the simple coordinate transformation. Okay, so these are some of the properties that I discussed, and there are some more. Let me just some more means something in this space that we can also define. Finally there is something we can define, and that is called norm or length of a vector or norm of a vector. Okay. So how do we define the norm or length of a vector in this two-dimensional coordinate space? Is nothing but the square root of this dot product or the scalar product. Okay. So now let me just give you a simple thing and simple understanding, like effectively what we are going to do is a matrix formalism of quantum mechanics. We would like to deal with quantum mechanics in its matrix formalism. So from here you can see a hint of that, although it is not really ideal to do it, but some hint, even with the risk of making you confused or confusing you. So the norm is r dot r. Okay. So this r, you remember that this r, we have used an alternative notation like xy. Okay. So what I am going to do is that I am going to make a little bit of change here, and I am going to represent this r in terms of a single column matrix. Okay. However, in this case we cannot really do anything more, because this r and this r, there is no difference. Okay, both are same. So at this moment it won't make sense to you, but let me just still try to do it.
So
Ultimate
the
result.
left, so in the
Yeah.
dot product, the left R should be the row vector. It should be
Yeah,
like row.
yeah, but that
That means the
is
dual.
because you, yes, yes, because you are already, I guess you already know about it. But if you did not know about it, okay, so at this moment there is no, the only thing that you can say at this moment without knowing the definition of what is a dual and so and any other thing, what modulus of this or the square of this norm, the final result should have been x square plus y square. If you want to achieve the same result in terms of using a matrix notation, doing the calculation in the matrix notation, then immediately you can see the requirement that if this R is represented as a column x and y as its entry, then this R has to be represented as a row. We'll come back to this. It's just to give you some idea what we are going to do next. So as Bhavesh actually pointed out, that this is called the dual. So when we are going to deal with the pure quantum mechanics, yes, definitely, or in the linear vector space, we have to define this quantity called the dual vector. So we'll talk about vectors, vector space, and then there is a corresponding dual of that same vector space we have to define, but we have not defined those formalism as of yet. So, but why we actually went in that direction will be clear slowly, because there is already some hint that we need to generalize in that direction just from this simple coordinate geometry example of this coordinate geometry. Okay. Okay. So let me then, since I have introduced the idea of like why we may want to use matrix notation to do the same thing, Can you now see? Let me just once then come back to something about the definition of, which is going to be a very important thing as basis. So I hope you have understood this R effectively is the coordinate x and y. Okay, so as we have written that in terms of matrix, we can write this as x and y. But what is x and y? If you look into the picture, x and y means this was x, this was y. What is x and y? X means the projection of the vector r on this direction x. So this x is nothing but, so the unit vector in the x direction multiplied by the quantity x, which is a real number. Similarly, y is nothing but the unit vector in the y direction multiplied by that coordinate y, or which is a real number. So what I can do, this x and y, I can write can you see things emerging slowly?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
So this is unit vector x direction. This is unit vector y direction. How many unit vector do you need to describe any general vector in this two-dimensional coordinate space? Just two. Just two. Exactly. That is this two. So any general vector, now I am saying r. Okay, fine. If you want to say r prime, what will change? Just this number, x prime, y prime. So that means in this expression, what is going to change? X to x prime, y to y prime. So let's say anybody of us suddenly came and say that, oh, let me draw a picture like this. Fine. He did it. He or she did it. So this vector is there. Now the question is, how am I going to describe this vector? Bhavesh, your choice could be like, oh, let's say I would like to describe this vector. I will choose my coordinate system like this. Somebody else want to do like, yes, who is stopping me? I want to do by choosing my coordinate system like this. But any of these choices, does it change the vector actual physical object? It does not. It does not. Only the description changes based on the choice of your coordinate system, or rather choice of your basis. Okay, so in case of one choice, the basis is this. Okay, x cap and y cap. And another case, the choices of the basis are x prime cap or x cap prime, y cap prime. So if somebody choose xy basis, then this r will have some x cap plus y cap. However, with respect to this orange color, the same r will be now represented by x prime or x, yeah, well, let's say x prime, x cap prime, y cap prime. Same thing. if you want to compare your results, what you now are going to do, that you are going to write these two components, x prime, y prime and xy, and then you find that to match the results between you, xy and x prime, y prime should be connected by this transformation matrix, which is nothing but by which you have rotated your coordinate axis with respect to one another. And that's why I made that statement that the basis or the independent set of vectors are not unique. You can have various choice of your independent set of vectors to describe the same vector R or the same state of a quantum particle. Isn't it exactly similar to the description that I was, or the discussion I was doing here? This is the most crucial part for us to understand. Do you agree that this has a similar situation here as well? This problem?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Exactly similar comparison that you can make.